Welcome to Talking Technology with NCBI Labs, where we believe that technology is the single greatest enabler for people with sight loss and all disabilities. If you are interested in the latest technology news, products, and innovations, then you've come to the right place.
Hello, everybody, and you're very welcome along to the Talking Technology podcast with NCBI Labs. It's episode 17, and today we have a Braille special in celebrating Braille. So for nearly 200 years, the tactile reading system of Braille has enabled people of all ages that are blind or vision impaired to read and write. Yet in an age where synthetic speech and audiobooks are widely available, just how relevant is Braille in the modern world? And where can someone learn Braille, and what sort of Braille products are available to those who read it? So in celebration of National Braille Week and World Sight Day taking place this month, this episode of Talking Technology explores these questions and more. So on the show, we will welcome a panel of guests, including Breda Dowling, who's Sales and Services Staff Member in NCBI, to tell us about the wide range of products available both in store and online in the NCBI Shop. Jodie McGriele is a Training Services Manager at the National Training Centre in NCBI to tell us about the suite of course offerings, including Braille, that are available from the NTC. And Audrey Tormey will join her, and she's Braille tutor at the National Training Centre in NCBI, who also tells us about her experiences using the world's first smart Braille watch, the Braille Dot Watch. And we also welcome along Greg Flanagan, who's a work training officer in charge of the Braille unit at Arbor Hill Prison at Arbor Hill in Dublin, who manages the Braille unit in Arbor Hill, the only place in Ireland that services and repairs the Perkins Braillers. So regardless of your prior knowledge of Braille, you'll definitely not want to miss this show coming up. So, today's panel then is myself, Daniel Dunn, and we'll also be joined by David Redmond, Joe Lonergan, and JP Corcoran. And we'll be celebrating Braille. So first of all, we're also going to welcome along Mairead O'Mahony, is a Braille user, and she's part of our Meet the Team segment that we run every so often here on the podcast. So Mairead, you're very welcome along to Talking Technology today. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Hope you can all hear me.
Oh, we can hear you loud and clear.
Perfect, that's okay. Yeah, brilliant. I've just recently started.
Yeah, whereabouts are you based, Mairead, just for our listeners?
Yeah, I'm based in Cork and Kerry, so I'll mainly be working from Tralee, but I will be in Cork as well, probably one day a week, and it'll vary from week to week. So I'll be working in both counties.
Very good, very good. And maybe tell us a little bit about your background and any training that you might have done or life before NCBI.
Yeah, no problem. I suppose the last job I had, most recent job I had was a job bridge internship. So I did that with the Kerry General Hospital. So I was mainly working on the IT help desk there. And I absolutely loved it because I was dealing with computer queries and helping staff to get set up with equipment and all that kind of thing. Part of my job also involved tutoring people, the HC staff, in office applications. So I did a bit of Microsoft Outlook and Excel with them. And I did very practical tasks with them, so I mainly found out what their interests were and what they needed the applications were. So for Outlook, I did things like using the calendar and setting the out of office reply, forwarding, sending attachments. So everyday tasks that they need. Yes. And as I also do support tutor work with MTU in Tralee. So there's 2 visually impaired students there at the moment. And they're both doing very different courses and have very different skills and abilities. So I train them in on using the college systems, such as the library, Blackboard. They've now moved to Canvas. So I train them in on using all those applications. Sometimes it involves training them how to use Office applications as well, because they mightn't be very experienced in using file management. So creating folders, all that kind of area I do with them. So as needs arise, then I kind of work with them on what they need. It's Not on a very regular basis, but I do it whenever it's required.
Excellent, excellent. That's sounds quite varied, and I suppose it is something different crops up every time. So it's interesting to keep yourself up to date with what problems can arise as well.
It's very different. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And there's definitely plenty of variety in it anyway. No 2 days are the same.
That's great. So it is. And look, I know you've only recently started with us here in NCBI. But I suppose I know you're going to be in Cork and Kerry. So can you tell us a little bit more maybe about what your role is going to involve?
Yes, so I'll mainly be meeting with service users and service staff as well from time to time, and I'll be assessing service users for maybe what equipment they might need or what supports they need using different software applications, and then developing training plans to show them how to best use the equipment. And if somebody needed support in using Microsoft Word, I develop a lesson plan to show them how to get started from whatever level they're at. So
Yes.
if it's a beginner, it might be starting with just opening Word documents, saving them, locating the documents, so I'd go all the way up to mail merge or whatever they needed for it, find out what their use for the application would be and work with them on that. So to be very individual, really.
Yeah, very tailor-made. So that
Yeah.
sounds that's quite good. Okay, so I know
I guess
you're
I'll also do a bit of work on the help desk as well. So because I'd have some experience in that as well. So that would be to be great to blend everything together.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we'll have a new voice on the help desk for those of you who are listening in who occasionally give us a call on the help desk. So look out for Murray there. Also, look, I understand you're a Braille user. So what age did you start learning Braille, and how important is Braille to you?
I absolutely love Braille. I started learning it, I'd say, initially when I was about 5. I went to mainstream school for a couple of years first. But my real memories from learning Braille really were when I started in Dublin when I was about 7.
Yeah.
So for me now, I'm a very fluent Braille reader. I use contracted Braille, which would be grade 2 Braille.
Yeah.
Any chance for me to use Braille, I make the most of it. If I can get books in Braille, I'll get them. Even when I was in college or in school, in fairness, Arbor Hill, when I was in secondary school, used to Braille my books as well. So that was great. Yeah, so I use Braille wherever possible. I also use a Focus 14. And I'd mainly connect that to my laptop when I'm reading material from the internet, or if I have any materials downloaded, because I just find it much easier to physically take in material when I'm physically reading it rather than listening to JAWS. I just find it much easier. I also, obviously my Focus has replaced the Perkins Braille machine now, which is great because for me, in order for me to learn anything, I was always constantly manually brailing everything. Whereas now I don't need to do that anymore. So that's great. And I also use a Dymo gun for labeling things. So like if I had CDs to be labeled, or if I was labeling shelves, whatever magazines are on the shelf, I'd label the shelves so I'd know what magazines are on that shelf. Label doors so that I know where I'm going in new buildings and that kind of thing. So yeah, I do take the opportunity to use Braille wherever possible.
Brilliant. And when it comes to inputting, then you input in Braille where possible as well?
I do when I'm making notes for myself when I'm out and about. I would use the Focus 14 hard for making notes. So I connect it to my phone and then I make the notes. And then I can connect it up to my computer after and save them and read them as well from the Braille display.
Excellent. Is there anything else then kind of interesting that you have the Focus 14, or is there any other devices along with that you use?
I don't currently have any other Braille devices at the moment. They would be my main ones. But there's always new displays coming out in the market, so I'd be looking forward to testing out some new ones as well. I know HumanWare do a lot of different ones as well. So you just experience testing them out and see the difference in them all. But the Focus is the one that I would have the most experience with at the moment.
Okay, so and you're connecting that to your laptop and your phone. Is there anything else you connect it up to?
They would mainly be the device I connected up to right at the moment.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Marie, look, it's been lovely speaking to you there about Braille and all the things that you do as well in the technical support arena. And I suppose on behalf of all the team here, a very big welcome to NCBI, and we look forward to working alongside with you. And to all the people in Cork and Kerry, definitely will be delighted to have you there, helping them and support them as well.
Thank you very much. I'm very looking forward to working with everyone as well.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Maria. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, guys, that was Maria O'Mahony. She's new as IT trainer with NCBI, and she's based down in Cork and Kerry. And thanks very much for coming along to speak with us today. Next up on our show, we have Joe Lonergan, and he is going to speak with Breda Dowling. So, over to you, Joe.
Thanks, Daniel. Hello, Breda. Are you there?
Hi, Joe. How are you? Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Breda. How are you?
Grand, thanks.
So yeah, you run the NCBI shop. Can you tell me more about the NCBI shop and what kind of Braille products you sell?
Yeah, okay. I suppose we don't sell a huge, like tactile watches are probably something that people don't generally ask for. So we don't actually stock them in the shop, but they are available to purchase, and we can order them in for people from RNIB. So they have a good selection of Braille watches, from children's watches up to, adults, ladies and gents. So different types, different straps. Now, they look really well. The children's ones have lovely, colourful ocean themed straps on them, and then the ladies would have a pink strap or black leather strap, so whatever suits. So there's a good selection of them on the RNIB website, and I suppose if people are looking for one, I would suggest that they go onto the website or even contact me, and I can help them navigate the website and go through them all, and then I can order them in from there.
Yeah, so for today's interview, I put on my Braille watch. I actually bought this off you 21 years ago, believe it or not.
Oh my God.
Breda.
And it's still going, Joe, is it?
Well, the strap and the face are still going, but I just checked it. The time on it is 20 to 10, so no, it needs a new battery. I might be on to you for a new battery soon, Breda.
That's all right.
But yeah, it has a lovely black face on it and a gold rim around it. I presume they have a few different variations for we'll say men now at this stage and women.
Oh yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
But
they do.
Yeah, they're you lift the lid basically, don't you? And you feel the time. Isn't that the way they work? So
yeah, exactly. Like when you lift the lid, the 12 is marked usually with a bar, and then the 3, the 6 to 9 has 2 dots, and then the remaining numbers would have 1 dot. So that's how people kind of can differentiate between how they can tell the time. Yeah, that's basically it. And I suppose some people like a Braille watch because compared to the talking ones, you can just lift the lid and it's silent. No one is actually hearing you. Yeah, they're more discreet. So people can, even if they're at an interview or anywhere, they can just lift the lid and no one will even know that they're looking at their watch. So yeah, some people like them for that reason.
Yeah, I think the Apple Watch has replaced the Braille watch now for me at this stage, but
yeah,
you never know. I suppose it is a nice watch just to tell the time, but we can order them from RNIB anyway if people want them.
Yeah, because just to let people know, RNIB don't actually send to individuals in Ireland, so people need to contact me and I can place the order on their behalf. So they can always email me or contact me directly by phone, and I can order them in for them.
Brilliant. So and what about other Braille products, like do you have games or cards or things like that at the moment?
Yeah, we have Braille playing cards. So each card is labeled in Braille. You can get Braille Scrabble, and then you have like tactile draft, tactile Connect 4. What else is there? Tactile backgammon. So any of these games we can get them in easy enough. And I have some in stock now. I wouldn't have all the games, but I can, as before, I can get them in. We can order them in for people.
Excellent.
Yeah. Education wise, then there's kind of like for schools, you can get actually tactile Braille rulers and tactile set squares. So
Yeah.
And there's little stickers then for kids in school, if kind of like reward stickers. So they're Braille on the reward sticker, which is very nice for kids that are totally blind. Yeah. And pictures then, tactile kind of pictures. So they're all available as well.
And I see somewhere for visiting teachers, we'll say visiting teacher service for schools, they're helping blind or vision impaired children. You can buy books as well to help or to learn Braille for the visiting teacher.
Yeah, there's like Braille courses for children, and also print books then for the teacher, so they can interact with the child learning Braille. So yeah, they're available as well, and we would get requests from visiting teachers maybe to order them in for students. So their visiting teachers are well aware of all these Braille courses that are out there. So yeah, they're available.
Great. It's good to let people know what's out there. So recently I purchased some locator dots from you. I know they're not exactly Braille, but they're tactile, a way of marking something so that you can maybe find where a particular dial is or a button on a device. What other kind of Braille labeling devices have you got, or tactile devices have you got?
Yeah, I suppose as Mairead mentioned, she's using the Braille labeler. So we stock that. So that's really a handy item for if you have CDs, even books, anything. You can just use your Braille labeler, and Braille, it comes out in Braille. So you just label CDs whatever way you want. So that's a really handy device, and we have that in stock as well. You can also get the tactile bump-ons, which come in orange and clear, and you can get black as well. So they're and the locator dots kind of similar. The locator dots are really handy for marking, let's say, your computer keyboard, your phone, because they're small enough that they'll actually fit on the actual numbers on the keypad. So they're very handy, the locator dots for that.
They're really good. They're really good, actually. Yeah. But keep in mind, people, I suppose, that there's only 5 or 6 in a packet. So maybe you might be good to buy 2 or 3 packets when you're buying them.
Yeah.
I found I recently purchased an Ninja air fryer with the craze out there of air fryers. They're actually really, really good. But the trouble with them is the buttons are very smooth. They're not tactile. It's very difficult to feel. So I found the locator dots were brilliant to label the on button, the air fry button, the start button, that kind of thing. So I thought that was really, really good for that device. Also, when I got my iPhone first, I was put locator dots on F and J and certain other touchscreen devices in the home. Maybe some people have an oven that might have a touchscreen on it. This might be the only way of getting around or making the device or more accessible, I suppose. Especially if it doesn't give you any voice feedback. So it might be good to put a locator dot on it. Same with washing machines and different things like that.
I think they kind of stick on better maybe than the actual bump-ons. I don't know if, Joe, you found that yourself, did you?
I definitely, the lifespan of stickiness, I suppose, it's really good. It does. And it doesn't melt off, I suppose, with a bit of heat as easily as some of the other bump-ons. And when they get wet, they seem to, they don't peel off too easily. So, and I suppose if you get your nail behind them and you need to take them off, they come off as well. But with computer keys, you have to be really careful because it can peel off the computer key as well. So you have to be really careful to hold down the key and peel off the bump on as well.
Yeah.
So that's your labeling devices, and. We'll move on from labeling devices. Are these products available for people to check out if they drop into you in the shop, or are even available on display, or can you just talk to people about them? What way does it work?
Well, I suppose, I'm not sure if people know, there's a shop. I'm based in the Kilkenny office, so we have like a shop in Kilkenny, and we would have like demo products here for people to try out and to have a look at. And also in the shop, Dublin office. There's a shop there as well for people to walk in and have a look. And Debbie looks after the shop in her Dublin office. But anybody, it's like if anyone has any questions on these products, they can always just like drop me an email or phone, and I can go through them and even, you know, look up other websites for them to see what other products are available if they need anything else.
Yeah, so you email breda.dowling@ncbi.ie, or
that's it.
We can call the main line and go to the shop. Yeah.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's thanks for that information, Breda. That was brilliant.
Yeah,
so
no
there's
problem.
lots of products out there for people that are interested in doing Braille or still use Braille, and it's a very popular source of information.
There's a lot more than you think out there.
Yeah,
so
there is a lot more than you think. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Breda.
Thanks, Joel. Thanks a million.
I'll pass you back to Daniel.
Thanks, Joe, and thanks very much, Breda. That was very interesting to hear indeed, and great to hear about the range of different Braille products and other interesting products that are available to our service users from the shop in Kilkenny. So, moving along then, we next have an interview with Jodie McGriele and Audrey Tormey, and I'm going to hand you over to David to take care of that one for us there.
So, Jodie, Audrey, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, if I could get you guys to introduce yourselves. Jodie, we'll start with yourself, I suppose.
Yeah, so my name's Jodie McGriele and I'm the Employment Training and Academia Manager here at NCBI.
And Audrey, yourself?
Yeah, hello, I'm Audrey Tormey. I work in the National Training Centre and I am involved with teaching Braille literacy.
Okay, so you both work within the training centre then?
Yes.
Yeah, and I manage the employment team nationally as well. So we have a team of employment and training advisors nationally across the whole of Ireland.
So I guess then, Jodie, if I could ask you first then, do you want to tell me a little bit just about the training centre, how it operates, what kind of courses it runs, how does all of that work?
Absolutely. So I suppose the National Training Centre, it's been evolving since I've been there, I suppose, back in 2018. So we have a suite of programmes that kind of span the breadth of rehabilitation training for people who are blind or vision impaired. So we have some funding from the HSC, which is rehabilitation training funding. We have some funding from the CDETB, so we have some adult education services. And then we fund some stuff internally as well through NCBI Charitable Foundation. So we have a stream that's called See My Skills, which is really to do with the foundation skills for anyone who needs rehabilitation training. So that involves orientation and mobility, communications, assistive technology and advocacy and engagement, and also employment support. Then we have the employment skills program, which is specifically for people who are blind or vision impaired, and that includes the expanded core curriculum at second level and the employment skills program, which sits at level 4 on the NFQ, QQI level 4. And then we have a retention program that we call the Jobs in Jeopardy program, which looks after people and supports people to retain their current employment by upskilling them.
Okay, so just to be clear, say qualifications as people go through programs at the National Training Centre, they are recognised then by QQI.
So the employment skills program is recognised. It sits at level 4 on the National Framework of Qualifications. So that is underwritten by QQI. We have the international computer driving licence that we can do manual exams for. We're the only centre in the country. So it means that we can override those visual exams that you might get externally with learners. And that's accredited by ICS. And then we also have a level 5 that's starting in January at QQI level 5 that is also accredited.
Okay, brilliant. And Audrey, I guess, so you're doing Braille within the National Training Centre. Do you want to tell me a little bit about the course that you're doing, how you found it, and how you find it, I should say. And, you know, so tell me a little bit about the course.
So just as a background, as Jodie mentioned, we kind of teach communications at the training centre, so that would include Braille, but also English as a second language. So people who mightn't have it, you know, might want to learn it. but specifically to the Braille course. So when somebody arrives and they express an interest in learning Braille, I would sit down with them and just see what the purpose of what their goals are, why they want to learn Braille. Some people want to learn it, to be able to use it for every day as a substitute, say, to reading print. Other people want to be able to label things, for practical purposes. So it really depends on the individual, but we start with the basics, with the alphabet, with uncontracted Braille, and we work through the Braille course. It's a course called Fingerprint, and it goes methodically, step by step, through the signs in Braille. And sometimes somebody says, oh, I only want to be able to read the alphabet and numbers, but then they find, oh, I like this kind of way of accessing information, and they transfer or they continue on to contracted Braille. So it really, really depends on the individual.
How long does it generally take for someone to go from having zero knowledge of Braille, maybe they're new to having sight loss and they're doing this for the first time? How long does it take before someone gets to a state where they can be proficient as a Braille reader or writer?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And you know what? It really depends on the individual. There's a lot of chat and listening in the first few lessons when somebody says they want to learn Braille. I suppose the uncontracted course that could be managed, and the skills for and the different signs could be acquired within, say, a 10-week, 12-week period. But there's a lot of practical application of the Braille, so it's not difficult for many people to learn the alphabet and the signs that indicate numbers and the punctuation. That is what the uncontracted code would consist of. But on top of that, we have kind of layer upon layer of exercise and practical application of the signs, just to make sure people are conversant and happy with the signs and identifying the signs by touch.
And are people within the course using, the traditional Perkins Brailler, or do people tend to explore, more modern Braille devices, the Focus Braille displays, or any Braille display for that matter? There are loads out there now. Do people tend to see a variety of those devices through the course, or do people tend to stick with the good old traditional Perkins Brailler?
Well, we use the Perkins Brailler mainly, to be honest with you, but we also use, what people find really, really helpful is to magnify the dots tactilely a little bit. So we use the Swell SciCam machine as well. So if somebody is new to sight loss and they know the print alphabet, very often from listening to their feedback, they really find it helpful to have the tactile shape of the print letters alongside the Braille dots. Now, it is bigger than standard Braille, but at least then they can transfer the skills into reading smaller dots, which will be standard Braille. So it'll be the Perkins Brailler. We'd use the SciCam machine with the Swell paper, which is a wonderful piece of equipment. We'd also, some people might arrive with a Braille display, but primarily it would be the Perkins, and we just take it kind of step by step, just familiarising how to put the paper in, how to orientate oneself around the keys on the Perkins, and yeah, so it will be mainly the Perkins.
Okay, interesting. And Jodie, if I could ask you, we talked about equipment there. How do you find, say, sourcing equipment for, the training centre? Is there, good enough resources there that all that can be, there's a steady supply of stuff that can be used by the organisation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose within the training centre, we have an assistive technology suite of computers that would all have fusion technology, so both magnification software and screen reading technology integrated as standard. We also then have, for our QQI program, we would have a suite of laptops with fusion technology, so people can borrow them for the length of the duration of the course, and they have access to that equipment on site, because we would use portfolios for people's work. And now, of course, we have the launch of our LMS, so our learner management system, which is Blackboard. And again, you can transcribe into different formats, be it Braille or audio files, etc. And so that's fully accessible for learners. I suppose the way that we see it is we also have the Perkins, so Audrey has a number of Perkins, and if people need to borrow a Perkins for the lifetime of their program, then that's absolutely fine as well. and we're happy to convert things using our tactile printers and our embossers should people need. But I suppose, yeah, look, it depends on what people prefer, and you know, as with all our courses, people can hand in assessments using whatever their preferred format is, be that Braille, you know, actual Perkins, using the Perkins and handing in physical Braille, or whether that be digital Braille, or whether that be audio. We're very open to, I suppose, universal design in learning and assessment in national training.
And Jodie, if people want to, you know, apply to do a course at the National Training Centre, how can they do so? And is there a good availability of places, or how does that all work?
Absolutely. So I suppose we've got many funding streams, and so it's really dependent on what the person needs. So at the moment, currently, we have around 60 learners who are touching base with the training centre, be it, you know, through either blended learning, which could be online, but also synchronous learning online. So you're doing live training online, or otherwise, you know, actually physically coming into the National Training Centre within Dublin. But yet to make a referral, so you can make a referral online, and you can go through the Make a Referral tab. Or you can ring the info line, or you can ring the info line and ask to be put through to myself, and that's Jodie McGriele, or otherwise contact jodie.mcgriele@ncbi.ie.
Fantastic. And on that note, I guess we'll switch gears slightly from the training centre, because I must ask you, Audrey, about the Braille dot watch. So we've had Brian Manning, who works on the NCBI Labs team, has previously written a review of the Braille dot watch. It's a smartwatch through Braille, and we'll hear that review just in a few minutes. But do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience with the dot watch? What did you think of the product? What is it, I guess, first of all, and how did you find it?
Well, it is a smartwatch. I found it interesting. I had it for a couple of days, because I would be someone that would prefer a tactile watch over, say, a talking watch, but that's just my preference. I had access to the dot watch. Brian had loaned it to me, so it is really amazing piece of equipment. A piece of I found it big though, so it kind of comes into one size. There's a wristband that it kind of sits on, or slides, you know, sits on, and there is a home button, and then there's a kind of a setup button. So it is very clever piece of technology. It can be paired with your smartphone as well, be it an Android or an Apple phone. And overall, I did find it interesting. It is Braille or tactile, but it takes a little bit of you getting used to the code, the Braille, kind of being able to read the Braille on the watch. There's a 4 Braille cell, so it's quite small, and it requires a little bit of time to get used to the dots and how it's refreshable and how they change. Overall, I did like it. I thought it was amazing. Just the size, if it came in different sizes for different wrist width, it would be, I think, a little bit more of benefit to the user. I went back to use my old kind of conventional Braille watch or tactile watch, yeah, I think I probably would stick with the Braille watch for the moment, but there's a lot of benefits to the dot watch.
And where do you see, I guess, on that note then, do you think, you know, things like the dot watch, devices like the dot watch, are perhaps the future of Braille? Where do you see the future of Braille in the more technology-centered universe, I guess?
Oh, I mean, this idea that Braille is obsolete and, you know, it's kind of going to disappear in terms of, you know, usage and popularity, I don't subscribe to that at all. I think it's wonderful to be able to harness Braille with technology, and, you know, to kind of use both simultaneously as a means of accessing information and, you know, carrying out everyday kind of tasks, and especially in an employment situation. I think it's wonderful. So I think there's a lot of positivity and a lot of future in terms of Braille being harnessed with technology. Yes, the equipment is a little bit more expensive because I suppose the market is smaller of, you know, Braille users, but no, I think it's wonderful, and I am excited, kind of looking forward to whatever, you know, developments happen with Braille and technology, definitely.
Jodie, would you share that excitement?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've seen a growing range of, I suppose, equipment through Braille. You know, the developments around haptics as well, and people using haptics on their iPhone, on their Apple iWatch, and things like that as well. Which is coming through strongly as well. But I mean, we would really push the use of Braille to encourage and maintain people, especially people who are blind, their literacy skills, because I think it's really important to kind of push that feature as well. And I think, you know, with the introduction of UEB as well, some of the maths contractions and things like that have become more simplistic. So it's absolutely, I think, a key skill for anyone. And whilst, you know, and we would push it as a mandatory training element through for our staff team as well. You know, I think awareness of the tactile code is crucial.
Fantastic, guys. On that note, thank you so much for joining us, Jodie and Audrey. Thanks so much. If you want to learn more about the National Training Centre, you can do all that on the website ncbi.ie. But now what we'll do is we'll head over to hear a review of the Dot Watch by Brian Manning. This is read by Robert Byrne.
Labs product reviews. The Dot Watch Braille smartwatch. In the latest of our technology product reviews, Brian Manning of the NCBI Labs team provides us with an insight into the first Braille smartwatch designed for people with sight loss, the Dot Watch. Item name, Dot Watch. Review by Brian Manning. Description. The Dot Watch is a smartwatch developed by South Korean company Dot Incorporation. The device features a Braille display made up of 24 small pins, which help visually impaired users tell the time, receive texts and notifications, and read personal memos without a sound. Unboxing. What are my first impressions of the item? It is a good-sized Braille watch that fits nicely and decoratively on my wrist. It comes furnished with good support Braille manuals, and my natural impulse to research these devices on YouTube rewarded me with very good information video tutorials on the watch, which found me away in a heck with it. I've been using this for a few days. How do I feel about it? I like it. It does what it says in the tin. I get access to the information I need in a well-organized and presented manner. Is it accessible? For a Braille user, it is very accessible, and as I have previously alluded to, the accompanying manual and support videos are well laid out and very informational. What did I like? The results it provides are quite literally at your fingertips. It is concise and it links well with your smartphone, which you link through the Dot Watch app. What didn't I like? The 4 cells can be a bit restrictive, but that is the nature of what the watch has to be. Any more cells would probably render the watch impracticable. I would have liked to get greater access to my phone, such as answering calls, etc. Did it meet my expectations? It met my expectations, definitely. What improvements, if any, would I like to see in this product? It pretty much meets my expectations as it is. I know some service users have said they would prefer a smaller face, but I think this would not work as the 4 Braille cells require a particular size of interface. I think in this case we have to sacrifice on the aesthetic for the overall functionality of the device. Would I recommend this item to others? For other Braille users, definitely. It is a bit expensive, but it is certainly worth buying it for the special Braille reader in your life. Is there other competing technology you have tried, similar to this item? I have tried other smartwatches, such as the Apple Watch, but they are not really like for like. The Dot Watch is definitely unique when you consider the nature and manner of the information it gives access to. I've been a lifetime user of conventional Braille watches, and I have to admit that I continue to use them, but that is really down to the dinosaur nature of my personality.
Really fascinating technology there. Thanks a million to Robert Byrne for reading that for us, and thanks to Brian Manning as well for writing up that Dot Watch review. And also thanks as well to Jodie and Audrey from the National Training Centre. Really appreciate their time, and thanks so much to them for coming on to talk to us. But now we'll move on to the next topic, so I'll hand it back over to you, Daniel.
Thanks very much, David. That was great. Thank you very much. And next up, we have Greg Flanagan, and Greg is from Arbor Hill Prison, and he's here to talk to former inmate, our own JP Corcoran.
Thanks very much for that introduction there, Daniel. So delighted to introduce to the show now Greg Flanagan, who is the current work training officer in charge of the Braille unit in Arbor Hill Prison. So Greg, you're very welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, JP.
Great to have you with us. To start with, Greg, could you tell us a little bit about your role as a work training officer in Arbor Hill Prison? So what exactly does that entail?
Well, basically, in the workshop itself, we do just three things. We do one, we reproduce Braille, so basically any text, we transcribe and emboss and bind. So whether it be a book, a leaflet, a letter, whatever it may be, it's required, and it generally comes from government departments or individuals or private companies. We used to do all the school books, but it got too much for the unit, and this is where reading services was founded in Child Vision. So they produce all the school books now. So that's one aspect we do, reproduce. So people look for a menu or something like that in Braille when we reproduce it, emboss it for them. So that's one thing. The second thing we do is, well, I'm a tutor on the Birmingham Braille course. It's in conjunction with Child Vision. So I would teach some of the lads how to read and write Braille basically through this course. So over the last, I think the course is on 12 years, 14 years now. So over 20 lads have learned to read and write Braille. And then the last thing we do is we repair the Perkins service and repair the Perkins Braille machines. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
So that's so excellent. So a full suite of services. Interesting to hear Mairead earlier talk about, Greg, how she would have had some of her Braille school books at least transcribed to Braille years ago, and obviously that was obviously a very demanding service at the time, and things have changed a little bit now, as you were saying. You mentioned then the Birmingham Braille course, and that was a course actually I've completed in, I think it was 2016, Greg, and you were actually my tutor. So if I can learn, if I can learn Braille, anyone can learn it. And I have to say, to learn that by sight, and something I'm really glad I did. There's things, I'd be on public transport, I'd be, coming across, tactile Braille, Braille signs, and it's great to have that little bit of knowledge, which I've held on to there from the course. So it's a fantastic course for anyone who's interested in learning Braille. And I think it's what's really impressive, though, Greg, as well, and you haven't really alluded to there, well, you haven't, that you're actually the only person in the entire country who's qualified currently to repair and service Perkins Braillers. So, I mean, what a specialized, unique skill. Where did you learn how to do that, Greg?
Basically, through the job. Basically, they've been repairing machines in the prison for the last 20 odd years, and it was the prisoner was doing it. So when I took charge of the workshop, and afterwards, and then I took over from him because I took over. So I was doing it, and then eventually I asked could I go to do the course in Boston, and the Perkins School for Blind, so I did that, and basically I learned. So basically, I started off in YouTube how to fix them. That's how I started doing it, but so obviously I wasn't 100% sure. Then I did the course then. So. And the thing is, they're so complicated machines. I'm still learning today.
Yeah, really. And after how many years of repairing Perkins, Greg?
Oh, it's probably about 8 years now. I'm still doing them.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic.
They look sturdy and solid machines, but unfortunately they're very finely balanced and stuff. So it's,
and then just focusing on the Braille unit in Arbor Hill, which you referred to a moment ago. How long has that been in operation, and is it made up of a large team, Greg?
Well, basically, the first recorded transcription job we did was January 77, so 45 years.
Wow, okay.
In operation, it's going a while, all right,
Wow, it certainly is.
Yeah, but it's just me. At the moment, it's just me. Originally, back then, there would have been 3 officers, and then 15 to 20 inmates who would be manually producing Braille. Where obviously with technology now we do embossers and that, so basically myself, and then if 3 or 4 others help me out, I do 90% of the work.
Okay. Yeah, and just focusing on the Perkins Braillers, which obviously so many people are learn Braille on, including myself. What are your thoughts? And something that Audrey referred to in the previous interview, like the whole balance of technology and Braille. Like, is technology here to replace or to enhance the Braille experience? So to some degrees we've entered, well, to a large degree we've entered what could be called like a digital era. Is there still a need for people to avail of Perkins Braillers, today?
Yeah, I agree with Archie completely. I mean, I don't think Braille will ever, never die. It'll always have Braille.
Yeah.
But I do agree that the digital era, that the technology, and a friend of mine's, brother, he was blind when he was younger. He's never used Braille. So I think some people will always have Braille, and I think they'll always have for children to learn Braille. You will need the Perkins machine. So I think the machines are going to be, around the last 60, 70 years. From the 60, 70 at least. You know what I mean? And they're unique because there's no other machine like them.
Yeah, that's very true. And Greg, I know I think I sent a Perkins into you about 3 or 4 times during the duration of the course I did on Learn Braille, but the kind of mechanical issues that can happen with I did. No, but you're quick to always fix. Kind of mechanical issues that can happen with Perkins Braillers. So the typical kind of things that will happen is the kind of things like loading paper gets jammed or something internal. What kind of things will pop up?
As I was saying earlier on, I mean, they look sturdy and strong machines because of the covers on them, but they're actually very delicate. And they're very finely balanced, a lot of springs and stuff. So, but you're right. The main problems are actually paper. People not loading it correctly. And there's videos online to show you how to load the paper. And a lot of people roll it in, and people get caught and everything. Yeah. And the other thing is, believe it or not, is objects falling into it. So obviously it's a blind person using it, and they don't realise something drops into it and it breaks it. And the other thing is dirt and dust in them. And the one pet hate I have, people think that if it's getting a bit stiff, to put a bit of oil on it. No.
Don't.
So they send it to me, and it's in bits, and I'll totally strip it and clean it. So people think that they should put a bit of engine oil or something.
Okay.
So
if you have a tin of WD-40, the recommendation is not to use it with the Perkins. Okay. Good.
No, just send it in to me. I'll have free charge to have a look at it.
Perfect. Okay. And speaking of which, then, Greg, so someone comes across or has a Perkins Braille, or they have an issue with it and it's not working for them. Where do they send it? Do they send it directly to yourself in Arbor Hill? Or what's the best thing to do?
They basically put it into a box, a padded box. Whether you can use papers or whatever. It doesn't matter, material or something. It's box and free post.
Yes.
It's all free post. Articles are blind or something.
Great.
People have to realize it's free post because obviously a box will cost you £15 or euros to send. So just send it to me, Greg Flanagan, Arbor Hill, Breda, Arbor Hill, Dublin 7. And I'd have a look at it. But make sure they always need the details involved, because if I don't know who sent it to me, I can't contact them and say what's wrong, what's right, or what's involved, And a lot of times it's only small things, But send them in to me and I'll look after them.
Excellent. Well, it's such a fantastic service, and interesting. I'm doing a little bit of research on this last night. I carried a Google search with the words repairs Perkins Braille, and there's 3 places that came up that offer the service. One was Perkins School for the Blind in Boston, which I think you mentioned earlier in Massachusetts. Next one was the Royal National College for the Blind in Hereford, the UK. But then, of course, number 3, Hereford, and then it's yourselves. It's a Braille unit in Arbor Hill. So clearly, it's a very specialised, very bespoke service, and for that reason, a very extremely valuable one. So it really is such an invaluable service for so many people using Perkins. Before we go, one other thing we might just talk about, Greg, if you have time, is INBAF, the Irish National Braille and Alternative Format Association. I believe you're involved in this group. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. Yes, I believe. Well, I'm not part of it. I'm one of the Arbor Hill, one of the family members, along with NCBI and Television.
Yes.
The 3 sort of groups got together to sort of. So basically, it's a service that any the blind community can use. I even decided that they need to have information. It's like an information hub. So if you need to know anything about where to go, what to do. We point them in the right direction. You know, we give them advice. So you know where to go to NCBI.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
where to go to. You know, if they want to get a book reproduced or they want the papers fixed, and we have links on it as well. You know.
Great.
For different, like we in Bath actually introduced UEB into Ireland, Unified English Braille, along with, because we're members of the International Council on English Braille, which is worldwide, which is all the English-speaking countries around the world. I remember this, so this is for UEB. So basically, before UEB came in, it differed, like in America and Australia, they had different Braille, even though it was English. So they just unified it all now to make it easy, so anybody can go anywhere in the world now and understand English Braille, basically. So we, in Bath, as me, everyone through stuff, implemented, brought it in country through the schools and all that. And
excellent. Okay.
Obviously, we have the Birmingham Braille course, as you said, you know.
Yes. Okay.
As well, you know.
Okay. So that's fantastic. It's a fantastic resource. I believe it's a website for InBath, isn't there? InBath.
There is. It's a website. Yeah, it's InBath.ie. Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, as I said, incorporates the three main bodies. NCBI ourselves, NCBI, television, and then television. And we also have individuals, television, and we also have individuals then, vision impaired individuals on the committee. So basically, if somebody contacts and wants to know something, we have a resource there to say, try and give them the information that they're looking for and they need, you know.
Okay. Excellent.
And we're trying to people to use it a bit more, you know, because it's there for people, you know, to help people. That's the idea of it.
Great stuff. Well,
excellent. All formats, not just Braille.
Yeah. An excellent resource there in Bath. Well, Greg, fantastic having you on the show today. So thanks very much for joining us. It really is. So really interesting to hear about the work of the Braille unit in Arbor Hill, and also we really do appreciate the continued support and effort in repairing, I should say, and maintaining so many Perkins Braillers for everyone who used them across the country. So it's a hugely invaluable service at the Braille unit in Arbor Hill. So thanks very much, Greg, for joining us again.
Thanks very much, JP. See you later. Cheers.
Okay, great stuff. And now back over to you, Daniel.
Thanks very much, Greg, and thanks very much, former student, JP. Sorry, I had it wrong at the introduction. That was fantastic to hear about, I suppose, you know, how all the machines can get repaired, and it's great. It's absolutely great that we have that service in the country.
It's a great service, Daniel.
Because with so many other things, like, you know, if other pieces of equipment have to go for repair, it's often out of the country. So it's great to have it on our own doorstep, so to speak.
Exactly. And,
and the turnaround, really that obviously means turnaround time for stuff getting back is quite much quicker than relying on international shipping and the rest. Very good.
For sure.
Very good.
Great stuff.
Okay, so moving along then. Today we've got a little bit of tech news, and JP, I'm going to bring you straight back in here because you've got to tell us about a level 1 uncontracted Braille course that's commencing soon. Can you give us the details?
That's right, Daniel. So there is a level 1 uncontracted Braille course that's commencing in November, 21st of November. And this is being run by the Braille support team in NCBI. It's running over 10 weeks, all on uncontracted Braille. It's very much introductory. So over the course, the students will be introduced to UEB, Unified English Braille Uncontracted Code. You'll be learning how to read and write the letters of the Braille alphabet and numbers. You'll develop awareness of a broader English Braille code and how you can continue your learning at the end of this course if you wish to do so, because there's going to be level 2 and level 3 courses. That'll be follow-up courses to the level 1. The course itself is run virtually, and there'll be one practical session. And the final thing to say is that you can sign up for this course by emailing training@ncbi.ie.
Well, very good. So that's the way to get in contact there and find out more information about this. Okay, and other tech news, Microsoft have released an update to Windows 10 and Windows 11 over the last few days. So it's called the 22H2 release, and whether you're on Windows 10 or Windows 11, that is now available for you to download. And I suppose there's just a couple of little things in it. I've personally installed on my own home laptop. I've noticed the speed has increased, which is great for me because I'm actually using a 12-year-old laptop with a solid-state drive in it, so the speed has increased. That's definitely a good thing to hear. But also for for service users that are listening on today, there is a new feature that has rolled out all across Windows. Up to this, it was kind of only available in the Office 365, and that is be able to dictate into a text field. So it doesn't matter where you are, you can use the Windows key and H to enable that. It brings on the microphone for you, and you can speak, and it types what it hears. So I've tried it out, it's quite good. Also, there is live captions for any content with audio. That's now available by going through to your settings, accessibility, and into captions, and you can turn those on. And there's an enhanced do not disturb settings, so you can again start settings and system notifications. You can turn on do not disturb automatically, which is quite good at times, and then I get disturbed. So I'm going to hand you back now to Joe and David, and they're going to guide us through some news on recent Apple product releases. So maybe we bring in, who have we, Joe first?
Yeah, hi again, Daniel. Yeah, so last week Apple released 3 new products again, 2 new iPads and an Apple TV. So I suppose the most interesting one was the normal iPad, the iPad 10th generation. This now has a 10.9-inch screen, so a bigger screen, good for anyone that's low vision, and screen goes from edge to edge. Wow. So it has 4 different colors. I suppose that won't make much difference to a lot of people. Pink, blue, yellow sounds quite nice, but I'll probably go for the boring silver. But it has a Touch ID up on the top button now. It's not on not on the home button anymore. So it still has Touch ID, which a lot of people will be pleased to hear.
Is it part of the power button, or is it a separate
part of the power? I think it's part of the power button. I haven't had it in the hand yet, but I think it's part of the power button.
Yeah, it is part of the button there on the side. So yeah, the power button.
And that's brilliant. Yeah, so at least we have Touch ID. It'd be good for verifying purchases and from the App Store and maybe Apple Pay and things like that. So also it has a landscape camera now in the front, which supports center view. So center stage. So center stage is a feature which, we'll say, it might be useful for vision impaired and blind people. So it'll keep them in the center of a FaceTime call or a Zoom call or a Teams call, whatever virtual video call you might be using. So it'll keep them in the middle, and if you move around a little bit, the camera kind of follows you. And it has 2 new microphones, so the sound will follow you better as well. Yes, it's supposed to have faster wireless connectivity and a USB-C connection. They have a new Folio keyboard out for it. The keyboard is approximately €300, but it will turn it into, I suppose, a kind of a laptop experience once you put the keyboard onto it. And the Folio keyboards are really good. They're actually brilliant. They're lovely to type on. The iPad 10.9 itself is approximately €600 to buy the 64 gig version. If you go up to, I think the next one up was 250 gig as far as I remember.
256 or something like that.
256. Sorry, 256. You're looking at something like $799. But look, prices change all the time, so you won't quote prices as a certainty. You know what I mean? That's from the Apple Store at the moment. And then the other iPad that came out was the iPad Pro version. So the main thing with this one was it has an M2 chip, so a more advanced chip. I think the last version had M1, so it's moved up to M2. There wasn't anything major. I suppose it has faster connectivity again, but nothing major to really update on, I suppose. It comes in 11-inch and 12.9-inch, so has a bigger screen again. It'd be good for people that use the magnifier feature in a really clear screen, so you can open the magnifier feature with Siri and then maybe hold it over text and it'll magnify it for you. So that kind of thing would be really good. But I think the biggest launch was the just the normal iPad 10th generation. I think it'll be a very popular device, especially
it's kind of midway between the old iPad Air and the Pro.
Yeah, exactly. And the center stage feature will really make video calling a bit more productive for anyone that has a visual impairment that is worried about having themselves in the middle or in the middle of the camera field, So I think that would be really, really good. I'll pass over to David then to talk about the Apple TV.
Sure. Yeah. Just before I do, I just to add to what you're saying there, Joe, like center stage was something that very nearly tempted me to move to a new iPad, because that alone, just the ability for someone like myself with a visual impairment to be able to stay in the center of the frame, that's a big deal, because obviously when you're using a camera, you need to have the iPad a certain distance away from you. So, and I'm just hoping that, one of the things when I was starting to get used to using the camera on the iPad, one of the things I never factored in is the fact that the camera on the iPad, when it's sideways, when it's in landscape mode, the camera's actually on the side. It's not centered. So I have to kind of be slightly to the side of the iPad to be in the center of the screen, and center stage fixes that. So there are a lot of advantages for people with visual impairment to having center stage. So we're seeing that rolling out on more and more iPads now, which is absolutely fantastic, and at cheaper costs, which is even better.
Yeah. They made a point of saying it was 5 times faster than your nearest Android tablet as well, Daniel. I don't know how you feel about that.
Oh, they had to get that dig in there, didn't they?
I don't know about that, but it's a funny statement to make. But that's what they said: 20% faster than its nearest, and in the previous version of the iPad, and 5 times faster than the next Android tablet. But that's one that we can test out in the future going forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll have to increase. We'll need to increase the budget for the €300 keyboard, though.
Yeah, I think so. That's the downfall. So altogether, you're talking €900. But look, I suppose it's a good laptop replacement for some people if you're big into your Apple devices.
For sure, and you'd pay $1,000 for a Mac anyway. So if you wanted and if you felt comfortable, like an iPad can do everything a computer can do now, and you're getting a touch screen as a bonus. So I mean, there are arguments that it does make sense.
Yeah, in most cases, yeah.
So when we talk about the new Apple TV, the interesting thing with the new Apple TV is it also, like the iPads, it has a new chip. So we have moved to the A15 Bionic chip. Sounds very fancy. Now this is the chip. It's also, if you have an iPhone 13, 13 Plus, 14 or 14 Plus, it will be in those phones as well. So just to give you an idea of the kind of speed and the power that is in these chips, it's from their latest phones. So that makes it a lot faster with things like gaming. If you're a gamer, maybe you have low vision and you like playing some games on your Apple TV, awesome. You can now do that and it won't lag nearly as much. It has better video quality. Again, very handy for people with low vision. One of the interesting things is that Siri can now tell who you are. So, for example, if I was to ask to watch something and Joe was to ask to watch something, then it would know our different tastes. It can distinguish between us. This has been a feature on the HomePod for a long time, but it has made its way to the new Apple TV, and presumably that's being enabled by the newer chip. So a lot of exciting things there. Now, there are a few things that you do need to be aware of. Before, there was only one Apple TV 4K. Now there are two. So what are the differences between them? Well, the first Apple TV is the Apple TV Wi-Fi. Now, the Apple TV, the Apple TVs have Wi-Fi, but the second edition is the Apple TV Wi-Fi plus Ethernet. So if you want to connect into the wall for faster streaming and gigabit Ethernet, that is something that you will need the Ethernet version. Now, confusingly, and this is something to be aware of, the Apple TV Wi-Fi plus Ethernet is the only version that has extra memory, extra storage. So the Apple TV with Wi-Fi comes with 64 gigabytes of storage, and the Apple TV Wi-Fi plus Ethernet has 128 gigabytes of storage. So it's just a catch to be aware of. If you plan to be downloading loads of movies onto this thing, you might want to get the Ethernet version, even if you're not going to be using the Ethernet feature. Just an unusual little quirk, but that's Apple for you.
I suppose it's they're thinking of the games. Somebody playing the games, well, they're going to require more storage for their games, and obviously they want to be on the fastest possible connection, and that's always going to be Ethernet instead of Wi-Fi.
That makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense, I guess.
I agree there. I think that is the main thing behind it, because a lot, video, some people like to download films and that, but most of its capabilities are geared towards streaming apps like Disney Plus, Netflix, Apple TV Plus. But the games thing, because you can connect controllers, like your extra controllers to it. So if you have kids in the house who like playing games, or even adults with vision impairment, the games thing I think is going to be a big thing for the gigabyte or the extra storage.
Indeed. Yeah. So there are other smaller changes. The remote for the device is now charged via USB-C as opposed to Lightning. So Lightning is the connection that you'll have on your iPhone. USB-C, if you've got a newer iPad, it's a slightly bigger cable, so you might have that. But that is the new charging method for the new remote. And the final change, and I think this is actually the most exciting change, and this I think will tempt a lot of people to actually get the product who maybe haven't got it before. The price has, unusually for Apple, gone down, folks. They've reduced the price, and they've reduced it quite significantly, actually. So the Apple TV used to start at €199. Now, the Apple TV with Wi-Fi, so bear in mind that's the 64 gigabyte version, that is now €169. So that's a €30 drop?
15% off, yeah.
Yeah, that's a decent drop. And if you want to go all out, you want 128 gigabytes, and you also want the Ethernet, you're getting a €10 reduction still. So it's €189 now, which isn't too bad, It's actually
not bad for 64 gigs and an Ethernet port.
Exactly, and especially when you compare it to a €300 keyboard.
Yeah, I think the popularity of other streaming devices like Fire Stick and Google TV has really put pressure on.
So, you're probably right. I mean, those Fire Sticks, they're dirt cheap, aren't they? So it is an interesting one. Apple's selling point for so long has been the fact that, we won't flood the Apple TV with advertising the same way you might see on something like a Fire TV Stick or a Roku. But you're not wrong, Joe, that that does, having that cheaper price as a competitor, and there's a lot of competition in that space from newer players. Sky and Virgin Media are now competing in that space with the likes of Now as well. So there is a lot of competition in that space at the moment. It's driving the price down, and ultimately that's a good thing.
One other bonus, I suppose, for sound, people that love surround sound, you can connect 2 HomePod minis, get surround sound, and the sound is amazing out of a HomePod mini, as you know. So that's another bonus if you have an Apple TV.
Very good.
Yeah, there are lots of, and this is something just to keep in note that it will be it's running the same operating system as the previous Apple TVs. So if you're used to VoiceOver and all those fancy features on your Apple TV, they will all work just the same. The only difference is the fact that your Siri will now be able to distinguish between maybe you and your other family members, which is kind of cool.
Yep, perfect. David, Joe, thank you very, very much for that.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thanks, Daniel.
Very interesting news there coming out of the world of Apple. Okay, so that's pretty much all of our tech news for today. Just a reminder now before we go that our support lines for technology support can be contacted on 1-800-911-110. That's 1-800-911-110, or you can drop an email to labs@ncbi.ie. For general support, you can also contact NCBI on 1-800-911-250. That's 1-800-911-250. Or drop an email to info@ncbi.ie. And if you'd like to support our services, please do so by visiting donate.ncbi.ie. That's donate.ncbi.ie. And coming up on future episodes, we will be having a look at JAWS and ZoomText 2023 updates with Matt Atter, Vice President of Software and Corporate Business Development in Vispero, and Sarah Herlinger, Apple's Senior Director of Global Accessibility Policy and Initiatives. And for our next show, please come back to us on the 8th of November. That's Tuesday, the 8th of November 2022, for your next episode of Talking Technology with NCBI Labs. And if you'd like to sign up for our newsletter, we have a weekly technology newsletter that goes out of a Friday. Sign up at www.ncbi.ie or email us labs@ncbi.ie and we'll send you our weekly newsletter on a Friday evening. So that's pretty much it. I want to thank all of our guests and our panelists today. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon on NCBI Labs Talking Technology.
Thanks for listening to the Talking Technology podcast with NCBI Labs. If you would like to support our show, you can visit donate.ncbi.ie. The NCBI Labs Talking Technology podcast is proudly sponsored by IA Labs, the market leader in the provision of digital accessibility services.